What it do? What it do?
Well, congratulations. I want to ask first how you're feeling emotionally.
Good, good. I'm feeling great, man. I'm happy. I'm happy everybody got to see me perform and go out there in my element and have a good time. So I'm proud.
And how are you feeling physically?
Not so great, but emotionally it makes up for how I feel physically. So it's all good.
So was it a dislocated toe? Is that what it was?
Yeah, it just snapped out of place. The big toe snapped out of place at the joint high up on the foot there. So, but it kept going back in. I kept putting it back in, and interesting experience.
So is it back in now?
Yeah, it's back in. It's back in.
Was it put in by a doctor, or did you put it back in? Is it?
No, I put it back in. It came out, and I looked at it, and I was like, all right. It's crazy the thought and your instinct just kick in. I was like, all right, let me just step on that, because it looks like protruding through my skin. So I just stepped on it, and it snapped back in.
Yeah, we could see there was something going on during the fight. We weren't sure. How much does that really affect you mentally?
There's a killer like Jared Gooden in front of you. You're more worried about him than a dislocated toe. You know what I'm saying? So he's throwing bombs, with big power. So I'm more worried about getting knocked out than my toe. You know what I mean? So the only thing it affected was me being able to drive. I had to fight a certain way. I had to just touch him with my punches. I couldn't really sit and dig on punches. Every time I sat and twisted, it snapped out. And I'm like, great. So let me just touch him. So that's when you saw I started just pawing at him and open hand slapping and stuff like that. I had to improvise.
So it seemed like there was a lot of trash talk going on in the middle of the fight. Was that, I don't want to say genuine, but was that like from real, actual, genuine
beef? Yeah,
or was it more just fight?
That's just fight stuff, man. I'm the rude boy, man. You know what it is. But he didn't make weight, so I was a little upset about that. I'm not gonna lie, and not the fact that he didn't make weight. It was the way after. He swole up on me at the weigh-in. If I didn't make weight, I'm more apologetic. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be like, yo, my bad, bro. I fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Like I over anticipated or something. But I saw a dude walking around. You know what I mean? Before we got on the shuttle to get here, I seen him walking around outside the bus. Meanwhile, I'm on the bus starving. If you go, I document my weight cuts. My weight cuts are not easy. So that's why I took offense to it. And so when we walked up on stage, I'm like, bro, like you didn't even say anything. You're just trying to swell up like you tough. So that I took that personal. But ultimately, it's a fight game. In the octagon, when it was done, he explained, he said that he made weight early and, he got a little overconfident and messed up. So, it's squashed in the fight. It's just fight shit.
Was there any hesitation to not take the fight because of the weight?
Never. No, we already put the work in. I'm training with 205ers. You see how tall I am? Every gym I go to, all my training partners, they're like the 205ers and 85ers. Randy, automatically they match me up with the biggest guy in the room, even though I'm a welterweight. So I'm used to that. It's all good.
And can you kind of tell us what it means to you to have your father be able to watch your fight?
It means everything, man. That was cool. That was huge, man. Like I was saying before, he called me literally right before the fight. When I got here, he called me. I was able to talk to him, and he's excited. He prayed for me. He prayed for my opponent. And it meant a lot, man. I'm happy. I'm happy that he got to see me living on the right side of the law. You know what I mean? So, and he's really proud that I'm living the way I'm living. So,
was that something you were thinking about in the fight?
No. Prior to, I think about it. A lot of things go through my mind prior to, but in that moment, I wasn't thinking about it. I was just, executing and just doing what I do, having fun.
And how quick do you think you can get back in there with that toe?
Well, we're about to find out. We're about to find out. But I'd love to be back. You know what I mean? I'm, like I was saying before, I'm the most New York person, New Yorker in the UFC. You know what I mean? A lot of dudes come from Long Island. A lot of dudes come from Albany, upstate. I'm from the boroughs. You know what I mean? I'm the New York guy. You know what I'm saying? So it would make sense to get me in there and work out something so that I could finally fight in the Garden or something again. So I'd like to get back on the card, a fast turnaround, if my injuries allow it.
And do you have an opponent in mind?
Anybody, man. Anybody. Just know that top 15, I'm ready. I'm ready for anybody in top. I don't know the names off the top of my head. I got to look at who's in the top 15, but I'm ready to rock, man. Just top 15.
Thank you.
I like how you said you're from like New York proper, because New York guys take that stuff very
like,
seriously as for where they're from.
Everybody like, oh, I'm from New York. I'm like, where you from New York? Albany? I'm like, man, you ain't from New York. Get out of here, right? Like, I'm from the boroughs. Like, I live in Queens, Jamaica, Queens. Like, I am from the boroughs, So, yeah, big New York talk.
And I know you said that you stayed in the moment, but granted the fight was kind of you were in good places for the most part through most of the fight. So never in any of those moments, or have you ever been in a fight when, maybe you were being tested, you had to show that heart? You never had images of your coaches, your friends, your family, something that's like, no, I can't quit right now because I'm going to let them down. Those moments never enter your head anytime in a fight?
It has happened in the past, and I had to, think of something. In this fight, not so much. I was just in the moment having fun, even though there were people watching, But it's happened before. There's been fights where, I had to dig deep and think about some things, especially in my UFC debut. And, I think about my son Uriah. He's watching, he's proud. He's always telling everybody, oh, my dad's a UFC fighter, So I'm proud of that. And I remember one time in particular, I was behind on rent. Me and my boy Andre Harrison. We were living together at the time, and we needed money. We needed rent. And you win, you get 2 checks. That was our thing. We used to always talk 2 checks or 1 check. Before I left the house, he was like, "You come 1 check or 2 check?" I was like, "You already know, 2 checks, right?" So I remember in the moment, the dude was on a takedown, and he's driving me against the cage, and I was just like, it came to my mind in that moment. Well, you can't take me down because I need 2 checks. Got to pay rent, So that's what it was.
And I know we've seen time and time again when fighters have a child or people that are dependent upon them, it's like their exponential strength value, ratchets up quite a bit. So it definitely seems like that worked for you as well. When you guys were out there talking trash, how much of that is kind of fun? Because we've seen some guys go too far. Mm-hmm. Some guys I love Kevin Holland to death, but there's sometimes he'll get caught up in the talking. Mm-hmm. Is there ever that risk that, you're having some fun out there, you're feeling loose? Have you ever had a coach just kind of say, hey, maybe dial it back a little bit? Or is that part of you feeling in the moment and getting loose out there?
My coaches hate that. My coaches, I know they hate it, and I'm going to tell you, I'm from I try my best to represent my coaches and my team as well as, but we're so different, they're, especially my head coach, Nardu, Sensei Nardu, he's from, super traditional martial arts background, and I have a lot of that instilled in me from him. But it's a little bit of a blend of kind of like my own style and of it, So, and I know sometimes he wants me to kind of be a little bit more on track where I should be, So he doesn't like it. I know he doesn't like it, and I know he's gonna be mad about it later, But I know he's proud that I got the win. He's happy, so that's all that matters. But I'll try not to go too far. This fight I had to do certain things to cover up the injury. So I feel like if I wasn't injured, a lot of the antics would have been a lot less because, I had to put up the facade of hey, look at this, look at me, because I didn't want him to hone and realize that my foot was hurt.
Well, I was going to say, you did a great job of disguising that. I think only one time in the fight did I ever really notice that something was going on. They could kind of tell you were walking a little funny, but I never noticed, only until one time when you actually looked down, and I think it was one time when you sort of adjusted it yourself, and we were like, holy cow, what is going on? It was very gnarly, but up to that point, did it finally get to a point where, was it pain, or was it just that you could feel that it was affecting your movement, that you had to take care of it right then in that moment?
A little bit of both. The adrenaline kind of covered most of the pain, but it was stopping me from being able to drive forward. Like, a lot of times my punches were coming up short, and I'm like, I should have snapped his head off his shoulders right there, but I couldn't because the drive was gone. You know what I mean? I couldn't drive and dig. Every time I dug in and twisted, it snapped out. So that affected my movement big time, and it took away my drive forward. So that's why you notice I switched stance. My hands are down sometimes. I'm trying to draw him to come forward so I could counter. I had to play that game a little bit.
And we also kind of thought part of the switch in the stance, because we could tell by the legs being sore too, it looked like the damage his leg kicks was definitely paying dividends. Was that really doing a lot of damage as well?
Not necessarily, man. I think people always think that because I got skinny legs. And
they even said it on the broadcast.
Yeah, nah, bro. Everybody, I know that. Watch my fights. They're like, I'm gonna go in there and kick his legs. All right, go. I'm gonna either check it or a lot of times I'm not heavy on my front foot. So even when I hit it and you hear that big slap, sometimes I just turn it. I check a lot of them. It just doesn't look like I check it because of the impact, because I didn't raise it up and be like, ugh, you know. I just kind of just angle it and you run into shin, you know. But and sometimes I just slide it back. So it's not too bad. It's more so the damage is my foot and my knee.
And what was the game plan for him coming in?
Ask him. Like,
No, I mean, what was your game plan for him?
My game plan for him was to go in there and have fun, man. I knew that I was, like I said prior to, I knew that I was a better fighter. You know, I was the more educated fighter, and I thought that I would be better anywhere this fight took place. You know, so that's what I did. I just went in there and had fun, and I knew that if I boxed him, he's a boxer from what I've heard. You know, I take pride in my boxing, so I was like, yo, let's go in there and have a good time, and that was the plan. Just go have fun and execute, and that's what we did.
It definitely looked like you were having a good time in there.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to try to get another one in by the end of the year? Does it depend on the foot? And for next year, what's the perfect number of fights for you in a year?
Perfect number of fights for me in a year is 4.
It's busy, staying active.
Yeah, I want to do it, man. Put me in there. Let's go. You know, this year, hopefully I get one more. That would be nice.
Congrats on the win.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.